and welcome to the 61st catch-up. It's the only show and I'm Will.
I'm Josh.
And on today's show, I'm the list now. I'm the list.
Ooh, and Lollipop, Lollipop,
Ooh.
oh lolly, 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 Lollipop. Ooh, just another song.
That's good.
Once
Double
again,
songs.
Always, every time.
Welcome to the podcast. It's been a fortnight. We haven't played it, but it's been one. How's your fortnight been, Josh?
Woo! Woo! It's been a busy one, man. Yeah, it's been huge. It's just a whole bunch of wedding stuff and other things have happened this week.
Yeah.
My wedding, not my wedding, someone else's wedding.
Yep.
Trips to Sydney. Cousins visiting. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
Got a black eye. This is what's remaining of it.
Yeah.
Although it's still, there's a lot of like yellow
There's a decent yellow. Yeah.
around there, but yeah, I can't find it. There it is.
There it
Yeah.
is.
Got a bit of bruising.
Whoa.
The bruising in here has died down.
Yeah.
It was all from my Bucks party.
Yeah.
Yeah, so had my Bucks party on Saturday. Will skipped one event. We did
Seemingly,
archery attack.
luckily.
Well, just for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we did a thing called archery attack, which is basically paintball, but with bows and arrows. But the arrows have kind of almost like a stress ball foam material on the front.
Yep.
So when you get hit with it, it's still like, it's quite a thud, but it doesn't hurt that much. You just sort of get like, bit of recoil, and it's, like a bit of a like heavy but friendly punch to the arm or to the chest or whatever. It's kind of that. Except when you get it to the face. We were all wearing protective goggles.
Yeah.
But there was a point where it was me doing bull rush against, 10 to 12 men
Yep.
in a line. So there was nowhere for me to break through. There was no way I was going to break through that gap. And only wearing protective goggles. So as I was running, actually the worst part has healed up quite
Yeah, I was going to
nicely.
say, it's gone.
It's still painful. Still got to put wax on it. But my dad, whilst doing this run, my dad hit me square in the mouth,
Yep.
which split my lip open.
Yeah.
And then within a second, I got hit in the side of the face, which knocked my goggles off. So the people running the event called ceasefire immediately. And that sort of cut
Yep.
the side of my face, which I don't know if it's showing up on the video.
Yeah, no.
But cut down the side of my eye, and then I think the impact pushed the goggles also into my eye, which has caused over the last 4 or 5 days my eye to bruise differently every morning.
Amazing.
It's just different. Sometimes it's a little thicker. So like this definitely wasn't happening until probably 2 days in. The one underneath my eye. The following day, there was in the corner of like the side of my eye, closer to my ear, that started bruising the next day. Under my eye, not so much, but this has been different nearly every day.
Yep.
So that was fun, and that was the first event of a day that went from 8:30 a.m. till midnight.
Yeah, it was a long day.
Yeah. Other than breakfast, we did breakfast first, and then that was the first proper thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the rest of it went much more swimmingly. My dad felt terrible. He was like devastated for the rest of the day. I think he was more so scared of my mum
That's
and
fair.
what my mum would say and think. But then turned out she was just mad at him for being quiet and sad for the day.
Good, yeah, good.
I don't know if he could have won.
You can never be right with your wife, so it's fine.
Yeah. So that was funny. But yeah, it was awesome. My lip was the worst part. This got worse later.
Yeah.
But my lip was like,
It was
large and over over the top of my bottom lip instead. I could have to sit over the top and it looked terrible. And then the next day I had my nephew's 5th birthday party.
Yeah, good.
A milestone where a lot of photos will be taken of you.
Yeah.
And we've just had, dinners with family. It was Maxine's birthday on Tuesday, so just add that to the mix. In which Will and I are sharing an event, but across states. I managed to get her tickets to a solo show of a member of one of her and your favorite bands of all time, Paul McCartney. Very,
Macca.
very exciting. He's coming back probably this time, actually, for the last time.
Yeah. The title of the tour is so stupid. Got back. It doesn't
back.
What is that? That sounds like a mistake.
It does. It's so funny. Like, you kind of get it, but it feels like a leap.
Yeah.
It's a leap to get there.
Isn't got back a modern slang for like you've got a big ass? Like if you
got back.
Yeah, baby got back.
It's not even that modern. It's from like the 90s.
Yeah.
It's a 90s song. So Baby got back.
There you go. So Paul McCartney got back because Paul McCartney's got a huge ass. So why, Paul? From the man that wrote a song called "For You," it's like it's not a big stretch. For
I forgot about that song. Yes. I can't wait to see that live.
Amazing. On billboards across America.
Incredible.
Yeah.
We did the food tasting for the wedding.
Oh yeah.
I think this is going to be the best food I've ever had at a wedding.
Wow.
If I'm honest.
Yeah.
Is
chicken schnitzels.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. It's insane.
Yeah, cool.
We got to share 3-course meals.
Yep.
Plus sides on top of that.
Yeah.
It was so much food. We had a few red meats, which was like, you know, it was very fancy. So it's like a strip of red meat.
Yeah,
or a couple of strips on a plate.
Yeah.
We could put our fork in it and twist and it would break
Sick. Wow.
off. For like beef and lamb.
Yeah. Be weird if it was the sausage.
But not cooked. It was absolutely insane. We had duck, which was a little tougher, but I think duck is generally a little tougher. But it was like chewier, but more in the way of it's like chicken chewy.
Yeah.
Like it has to be.
Yeah.
The chicken was also really unusual. Like it's filled with a kind of like a mushroom filling.
Yep.
Which don't know how people are going to go with that, but you know, because I feel like it's maybe not quite 50-50, but there's a lot of people that don't like mushroom. So
mushrooms are fucking best.
See how it goes.
Those are
great,
problem
good.
people. I hate those.
Good.
People.
There's also a mushroom tart, so it's almost like a pie, and it's delicious. It's really, really good.
Sick.
There was a lot of like hit or miss things. So we chose like 3 of the things that we were okay with. There was a lot of fish and a lot of stuff like that. We're like, fish is even worse than mushroom, we felt. And people can swap around. But the we ended up choosing the things that we thought were going to be the better options for people.
Yeah.
But yeah, even the chicken like tastes and the consistency is different to anything that I've had of chicken before.
Cool.
I've never had the buttery dressing on the potatoes.
Yeah, right.
And the 2 desserts are like a pistachio sort of cakey thing, and it's incredible, like just next level, and like a hot sort of like chocolatey tart pie thing. Yeah. And it was like the most insane thing ever. And it's got like a side of ice cream.
Yeah.
It's just got to be nuts, man. It's got to be incredible. I'm so excited to have it again in a month.
Yeah. The food is never good at events.
Totally. It's the perks of having the wedding at a proper restaurant, not just a wedding venue.
Yeah.
But like a legit, very fancy restaurant.
Sick.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
God.
It's going to be good.
That's very exciting.
How's your week been?
Good. You've been talking for a while. I'll give you a list.
Yeah.
Spider-Verse has come to home release.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the second one.
Amazing. Already?
Which
surely it's still at the movies too, right?
I think it is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I've seen sessions of it. I think it's come back into it as well, like Sony does so often with their movies. They just go like, want to see it again?
Nice.
One of the big things that happened with this movie when it was in cinemas was that there were kind of different versions of it. There was at a time about 3 different ones that had different gags, different lines, different kind of edits. And the question was always, what are we going to get in the end on the home release? And being out now, we know. And it's kind of a mix of a lot of them, but more so one of the last cuts that people were starting to see, which makes sense. There's good and bad things. The thing that I'm intrigued to know is that, like, some of these you may have experienced, because did you see it again?
Oh, yeah. No, I only saw it once.
Yeah, okay.
Only saw it once. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So it may have been in the one we watched, and then I've seen it another 2 times, potentially. So I'm intrigued to know what you saw. But Chris Agg writes on Twitter, because that's what it's still called, compiled a thread of stuff. One of the
thread, you say?
Yeah, thread on one thing. It's very strange. It's very strange that thread is slowly becoming more
Something
than a
else.
word.
Yeah.
One of the weirdest things is that there is a bunch of removed or altered lines in the film, and most of them are worse. They've ruined moments. There's things like, mild spoilers, things like Miguel, when he talks about his backstory, he was kind of like, on the verge of breaking in the line read that we probably saw, where he's like, I went through my past and I didn't have this. And he's kind of like a little quivery. The one that's in there now is like, I went through my past and I couldn't find and it's like, oh, like that you've changed the character now. He's not sad anymore.
So he's very very serious and...
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
right.
There's things like that. There's the moment where Miles saves someone and Gwen's kind of running through the rubble trying to find him. And in the movie, the cut we saw, she's like, no, Miles, no, Miles, please, no. In the cut now, she just bounces through silently and is like moving rubble and stuff. She says nothing. She's now less frantic. It's just like, I'm determined to do a thing.
That was always the really fun parts of these movies, is just like the sidelines of like little quotes and like the way that a human would say them too.
Totally.
Be like, no, don't, no, Miles, no.
Totally,
like that
just
sort of
frantic
thing.
stuff.
Man, yeah.
So they've pulled out stuff like that.
That sucks.
There's a lot less text boxes. So in like the moment where Miles realizes near the end of the movie where he is, and there was like, boom, this thing, boom, this thing. Now it's like, boom,
this thing. There's way more of that in this movie than others.
Totally. They've pulled most of that out and instead put in like lines from the movie. So moments where Miguel is saying the things that he's thinking rather than Miles thinking it himself and having those moments of, they've pulled those out and put lines in instead. There's a moment, there's a few parts where Miles is invisible and he's thinking things and he kind of doesn't say them out loud. They've removed the text boxes, so there's just frames of his face like going like this, and instead of it saying what, there's no text box. He's just there. Nothing's happening.
What?
It's very strange.
That's weird, man.
The color palettes in the Gwen and her dad scene have been altered to be like fairly normal now, which sucks.
No.
Yeah.
What?
Like, rather than having weird like green skin at points, it's most of the time pink. There's no weird like cool shifts in color.
What the heck? That sucks.
There's one of my favorite lines in the film is Ben Reilly holding Miles, where he's like, "This is called a sleeper hold. I'm using my bicep to constrict you," which was a great line. Now it's, "I've got you trapped in my well-defined musculature." So it's like, okay, that's less funny. There's a few more moments of spider sense on Miles throughout the film, which weren't really in the movie. So there's changes like that, which are cool, but there's just a swathe of ones that are worse. There's in a scene where you get to see Typeface, and he has a great line, which is "Go to Helvetica, Spider-Man." It now puts the font on, like it says it on screen, but not in a fun, like, cool way. And so if anyone's ever done graphic design, when you put 4 different fonts on screen, it looks bad, and it looks bad. It just is 4 words in different, and it just looks... And it's also like hammering home a joke that was funny without that. Like,
yeah, totally.
You need the text.
Yeah. We're going to see a set of fonts that looks bad soon.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a shame that the cut that you can buy is not the... It's also like it's a preference thing. I saw people reply that are like, I prefer that one. That's probably the one they saw when they went to the cinema. But
sure.
Yeah,
it just feels like they added some good things and removed some good things.
Yeah.
Annoyingly, like, come on.
Which I don't think we'll ever find out about things. But there was some, when the movie came out, people were kind of talking about Lord and Miller, that obviously the producers on this one, writers, directors on the original one. Mm-hmm. They were apparently like forcing animators to change big things before the movie came out. People were working 18-hour days and stuff. And I can't tell if it's a them thing and that these are like changes that they've forced upon very late in the game, or for me, a lot of it kind of feels like executive level stuff. Like, we don't want the broody character to sound emotional. We just want him to be mean. We won't want Gwen, who's kind of a strong female character. We don't want her to sound like, oh no, where's Miles? Like, it just feels like they've misunderstood moments. Stuff like pulling out the text boxes and putting in lines. They're like, well, that'll be more understanding for the audience. Like, it feels like real surface level execs being like, I've got a great idea. And so... It's a shame.
When you started this news, I was really hoping that you were going to say that when you watch the DVD, you get a different version every time you watch it, and it's randomized on the DVD itself.
That would be cool.
That would be so sick.
That'd be fun.
Like the different stuff. The different versions of the movie that were shown, they just have them all on there. You press play, you don't know which one you're going to get.
That would be fun.
That would be sick. Do that.
That'd be so much better than this, because now the other two cuts are lost media. Like, there's versions of this film that will never be seen again, which is weird.
That is weird.
Very strange. But at least you can watch this. You can watch all the cam rips from people that were at the movies over the next probably 3 years until the actual release date of Part 2 actually happens. Because that's not happening anytime soon. Part 3.
It's going to be Part 2 of the second.
Yeah. The third film, but Part 2.
Yes. Very sad. Very sad. But something that we can get in our faces next year, apparently, is Lollipop Chainsaw. I don't remember if this was a rumor or an absolute fact, but I remember we talked about it. There was some loose announcements of a Lollipop Chainsaw remake. For people that don't know what that is, it was a game from the Xbox 360 era where you played as a cheerleader, Juliet, from a family of monster fighters who has to kill zombies during a zombie apocalypse one morning when she wakes up. It was super colorful, super bombastic, super weird, and was written by none other than the DC movie superstar James Gunn. That's where we know him from.
That's all it's ever done.
And they just announced a new release date, so it has been delayed. I guess there was some sort of solid backing, but I remember it kind of just being like a loose maybe. Don't remember anything super solid. And the remake's official title of the game, so we can bring that up. It's called Lollipop Chainsaw Repop. This font is awful. I think it's intentional. I hope it's intentional.
Have to assume.
Because it's so bad. I think they're trying to like suit the sort of the weirdness of the the mid 2000s when the original came out, or the late 2000s or whatever, and just how weird the whole
that's consistent. The original logo is cool.
The two separate fonts look great together there.
This does.
They've made it work, but it looks awful. I really hope that's just for this announcement and then it changes later.
It's like the Marvel movie logos. There's like 4 before the movie actually comes out.
Or like all their artists were busy, so they just a bit of programmer art for you. It's so bad.
Repop is fun though. I like that as a subtitle.
It's cool. Yeah. It's rad. So very much looking forward to this. I'm glad that we have a slightly more solid release date, which it's been delayed from apparently late 2023 this year until summer of 2024, which is our winter. So about a year. About a year to wait. Which is cool. So looking forward to this one.
That'll be in your games of year next year. That's for sure.
Probably. I loved this game. It was so ridiculous. It was so dumb. But very, very fun. And along with the announcement, and this image was another image. And for audio listeners, it's very cool. This picture is cool. For audio listeners, the image shows Juliet with the reanimated head of her boyfriend hanging on her belt, the belt of her skirt, like Mimir style from God of War. But this was like 10 years before that game.
It made it cool.
That's right. Looking out into the fiery glow of the city, with a bunch of zombies silhouetted in the distance down the road, which looks very cool.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I hope it's still just... like looks bad. Like I hope it doesn't look good. Like I want it to kind of feel like those remakes of like the SpongeBob games and stuff, where it's like, oh, you've just up-resed like an old game.
Yeah, sure.
Not like a Resident Evil 4 where it's like, oh, this is like a AAA masterpiece now. It's
completely remade it.
Yeah. I kind of want it to look a little schlocky still.
Yeah, like keeping the sort of 2000s vibe, like Xbox 360.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, 3D world thing.
Yeah.
But it was so good because it's like it's got the dirtiness of a zombie apocalypse, but with rainbows.
Yeah,
like when you cut through zombies with chainsaws instead of like blood spurting everywhere, it's rainbows.
Yeah,
like rainbows just spray out of them, and
it's the scene from the Suicide Squad with Harley in the corridor bit. It's just
100%
all the flowers and stuff.
Yeah, and there's almost definitely like some Harley Quinn inspiration from the animated Batman series into this, like just the blonde badass sort of. Very, very cool. Very excited for that.
And was it Tara Strong? It was Tara Strong, right?
Yes, it definitely was.
Which is also Harley Quinn.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And now James Gunn is the head of DC. How funny.
It all
Everything's come back around.
Yeah.
That's it.
Very fun.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm keen. I never played it. I watched enough of you playing it to be like, I don't need to play the game, but I will play the Repop.
Yeah, jump in.
Keen.
Absolutely.
And that's the news. That was the news.
The news.
And this is the news sting. There's no ads to read, but there's a podcast you can listen to, Josh, isn't there?
There is. Yes.
You're one.
In my Rex, I'm talking about a podcast, so my mind went to that.
Yeah.
The ETTO Side Quest, episode 2. We had to record it within a week of the first one because of my super busy week that just passed.
Yep.
So it's about a topic, although we do talk about a bunch of games, just at a smaller level. But yeah, we discuss our kind of basically our the first time we remember a game being crap. And every time we bring up that title, that sort of description of the podcast, it changes in the podcast. It's a different way to word it every single time.
Sick.
But yeah, the first time when we were like, maybe games aren't always cool and good.
Yeah.
First experience of that. And in the middle of the podcast, I remembered the actual first one. That I remember.
Wow. Yeah,
so
cool.
I had all these notes about something else, and then I remembered another one. And a lot of people's were movie tie-ins.
Yeah.
And that's what reminded me of one.
There's a lot in that era.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. Oh, man.
Yeah. Sick.
It's a great era of crappy games.
Yeah. I miss them. That's why I applaud the Jumanji game for not only existing once, but for making a sequel.
Yeah.
There's a sequel coming.
Trying again.
Why?
Amazing.
I'm keen to hear it. I've got to listen through because, as we'll find out in the rec seg, I can listen to the rest of the podcast now. But we've got to do another segment first, which goes a little something like... Welcome to Cues from Youse. This is where you can submit cues for us.
Yes.
And to do that, you can get into the Discord by going to patreon.com/each to their own. Give us $3. Get in there. Go to the hashtag #ETTO and chuck them in the sheet. And I'll manually drag them in. Maybe there's a way to do it automatically.
Could be.
There could be.
Could be. We'll never know.
We'll never know.
We'll never bother.
Nah. Someone that did bother, though, is Laughing Seal, who asks, if you have to choose, and this is one of those ones where you have to, like, be very, like, specific with the question, because you could go either way. But if you have to choose a movie to have a video game adaptation that does not already have one, which would you choose, and how would you pitch the gameplay? So that's a movie that doesn't have a game, not a game to movie sort of thing.
Sure.
And as I always do, my one, first off, is The Nice Guys. And in my mind, The Nice Guys, the video game, would be like the kind of mechanics of LA Noire, like lots of the kind of detective side of things. So you're like analyzing and you're taking people in, and they can be as wacky as the LA Noire characters are, because the world of the nice guys is a little bit silly. But then, like, the other part of the gameplay is like a sloppier version of Sleeping Dogs, kind of brawler combat and vehicle stuff. So it's like, I mean, it'll be very similar to LA Noire. Is really the game that it'll pull the most from, which makes sense.
But funnier.
And for both of mine, well, I've got 3, but for 2 of them, it's very much like, if I want sequels to these things, and this is the way I can get them.
Yes.
It's not quite what they've said, which is an adaptation, but it's kind of a similar kind of thing.
Yeah. Can you repeat the question for me just real quick?
If you have to choose a movie to have a video game adaptation, that does not already have one. Yeah.
That's weird that we were literally just talking about it.
Yeah.
And you had pre-selected this question, I assume.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, we're here. That's why I was like, I'm rolling straight into this motherfucker.
Yeah, good.
My other 2, to give you some thinking time, Josh, Johnny English, but it would be like a retro, like GoldenEye, early 90s Bond game.
Yeah, good.
And again, that's just because I want sequels to that franchise. But not the ones we got. The ones we got were okay, but they were very, like, 2000s generic, whereas the first Johnny English was very tailored to be like a fake Bond film. And so I'd like more of that. And then the third one, which is horrible, and I wouldn't advise it to happen, because it's one of those like art house movies that should just stay once and blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
But Everything All at Once, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah,
a game that's like the medium, and so you switch between realities and see what the narrative path of a character, where that goes, and where you find out information between realities to advance the plot. And I think that would be cool.
Yeah, nice.
I was also like almost seeing it as a like an old LucasArts point and click. Like, it's not like a AAA, the medium, but it's like you press a tab, you just press tab, and it changes, and it's all just on like a Monkey Island kind of thing. And I think that would be pretty cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting choice.
They're my ones.
It'd be cool if the game literally went between the different styles.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So it like goes from like 3D to 2D to point and click to...
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, every reality has a completely different era of gameplay.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
That'd be kind of fun. The only one that I thought of is the movie that I most recently watched, and we'll be discussing it, and you'll be very, very happy to finally hear that I've watched this movie. I think a cool horror game would be Ready or Not.
Yeah, cool.
That's mostly a stealth game.
Yeah.
With very few points where you can get a weapon that can actually hurt somebody.
Yep. Oh, that's a great idea. That's very cool. Yep. Surely she'll end up in a Dead by Daylight or something at some point.
Totally.
Because she's got there's a weird cult, and we'll talk about it. There's a weird cult following of that film in the horror circles.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of the few modern films, like, as a visual language of her in the wedding dress that has, like, permeated into, like, the Scream mask and stuff for horror fans. Yeah. So, that's a great idea. That would be awesome. Yeah,
that would be sick. I was literally just thinking about... crap. Oh, that's right. I was thinking about going the other way.
Yep.
For like what... I don't know why I was thinking this. I was just thinking about this morning. When I was talking about my Lollipop Chainsaw, what if a movie got turned into a game got turned into a movie?
Yeah.
And I was like,
Lollipop.
Samara Weaving. As Juliet in Lollipop Chainsaw.
She's done those roles so much. It's perfect. Yeah.
It would be so cool. I think she would absolutely nail it. And then, cool. Get James Gunn on the movie. He does great horror. I was funny, I meant to look
into it, like, because we were going to talk about the game. I'm like, is there any like weird back end ties to Warner Brothers? Like, was it a Warner Brothers game that he could somehow go, I'm going to make that movie now?
Nice. Yeah,
that would be cool.
But either one. Just get Samara Weaving.
Yeah, in
something,
in a game or a movie.
Yeah. Get her in a movie, finally, please.
Yeah, it's been so long. She hasn't been in movies in ages. No one saw Babylon. No one saw it. No, it just came and went. Stephen King tweeted out, he was like, did a like review of how much he loved the movie Babylon, and Babylon replied and was like, "Thank you," like the Twitter account for Babylon.
That's so good. That's so good. Love it.
Very good.
Nice. All right. Grump Days asks, "What's something about younger people than you that bugs you?"
That's good. That's a good question.
It is a good question. There's a lot. I feel like to a much greater level than our generation, just the entitledness, man. And like, I follow just purely to get angry. I follow a Reddit page called I Am the Main Character.
Oh no. Yeah.
And it's just a lot of like TikTok stars getting angry at people for walking through their shot in a public place.
Yeah.
Or, you know, just, people from our generation and younger that just get angry at people for doing something that they have every right to do.
Yeah.
But they're just entitled and think the world revolves around them. But no one knows who you are. No one cares.
No. Not at
people
all.
And people probably only like you because maybe you're attractive. That's
the world, buddy.
Probably the only reason. No one actually cares. But yeah, just the entitled nature of people these days. And I know there's Karens and they're entitled, but they're just
no, but it's every child.
People. It is
every single one of them. Because my one was it was going to be that there's no fear. They're not which like I know it almost sounds dumb, but they're not afraid of anyone. In a stupid way.
Yeah. It's like the entitledness has gone to like a disrespect. For anyone older than them, or poorer than them.
Yes. Yeah.
Like just
it's wild.
Absolutely insane. Like no respect for authority, teachers, police. Somehow.
Yeah.
And I love it when police just like there's been some people that are like some TikTokers that are like, you know, they get arrested. They're like, "Don't you know who I am?" It's like, no, I don't.
I don't care. You're a human.
I don't care.
That's all you are.
You were speeding. You like ran into someone in a parking lot and then drove away. I don't care who you are.
Maybe I need this.
You're a criminal.
Just to let the rage out.
Oh man. Great. I love and hate it so much.
I mean, to a smaller degree than all kids are shit. Like playing music in public. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That's stupid. Although I'm finding that's older people too. Because they don't get it. I was at the airport and there was someone just watching TikToks. Like an old guy just scrolling, like he's probably in his 60s, I would say, late 50s, early 60s, just scrolling through like videos or whatever. And then it's volume. Just like music. Basically full volume the whole time. And then the other day, we were at the skate park and this kid with his dad, so this kid much younger than me and his dad much older than me, bringing like a full-size wireless boombox to the skate park, puts it on one of the ramps, and just starts blasting music. No.
And it's like, I would have been, like, I was annoyed about it at the time, except for the fact that it was all, like, 70s bangers.
You were good, yeah.
Like, he was playing, like, you know, like, Get Back and, like, cool. Stuff from the Beatles era. And it's like, all right, you get a pass.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, come on, bro. Like, not everyone wants to just be listening to that the whole time while they're skating.
No.
But at least the music was good.
My other one for people younger than us is that, and I'd mean this in a genuine way and not a creepy way, and I know how it's going to sound, but why are they from, like, 13 to, I assume, like, 25... Why are they allowed to look better than I ever will in my life?
Yeah.
Like, I never looked good at any point, let alone when I hadn't even hit adolescence.
No.
Like, what happened to our generations? That there must be something in the waters.
It is weird, right? Because also, like, there's all those videos of people in, like, the 70s. Like, kids in high school in the 70s that look like men and women. Like they look like they're in their 20s or 30s.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it's Stranger Things. Everyone's cool. Everyone's fucking cool when they're in high school.
Yeah. Our generation just look like nothing. Just the worst, dumbest group of young people.
It's the photo I sent to you from Fortress the other day. It was a group of people at Fortress, and it looked like it was from the early 2000s. It's like, no, it's just there's a generation that are just stuck. Not looking cool.
They just look good. And our generation, I don't know what it is, man. Our generation just looks so dorky. It's like the 90s to early 2000s was just like the dorkiest crap.
Yeah.
The dorkiest outfits. It was just the worst, and we had that for our childhood.
So what we've learned from this question is that we hate them for having no fear and feeling confident in the world, but that's actually because they're good looking and they have every right to feel confident because they're cool. And what we're doing is, as we're getting older, we're still being bullied by the cool kids.
Damn it!
It's just the kids are still kids.
Damn it! I hate this discovery.
That sucks. That
was the worst question. I'm angry at you, Dump Days.
We're the grump now. We're the grump days.
Damn it.
We're going to be grump for days. We are. That's a good place to leave it. Let's head to Josh's favorite transition.
So mad.
So grumpy. Let's be happy and talk about things that we like to watch.
Yeah.
Or play. I'm going to start with some TV and film.
Do it.
The first one, which is out now, would have been a cool, I watched it early if we'd done a pod 2 weeks ago. But it's out now. I went to saw Gran Turismo
nice.
With my dad. It's very good. It is being set in the real world. It's about the pretty close to real life story of one of the first GT Academy driver that went from playing the video game to racing for real.
It's a crazy sick story.
It's
awesome.
I think everyone I've seen the trailer, I've been at the movies with the trailer and it's like real story. They're like, huh. And I'm like, no. That's a thing that happened.
Yeah.
That's a real
100%.
thing.
I feel like it almost sparked the boom of how intense some of these racing drivers are now too. They just want to get to that point where they actually do it.
Totally. Yeah.
I know my cousin would, and he's got the full setup in his house.
Yeah, cool. I mean, look, I came home and was like, I had a basket on JVI-Fi. I'm like, no, delete.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is the one part of this movie that sucks is how fucking evident that it is an advertisement. It's a great movie, but every time it tries to sell you a thing, it's very clear. Something like The Last of Us being a narrative set in a fictional universe, it doesn't have time to be buy the game. It's the show is good, and so you feel like buying the game. Whereas this is set in the real world. He's in front of a console playing the game.
It's literally about the video game. It's how good the video game is.
Totally. It's so hard to avoid the advertising speak because the narrative of it, and it's not a spoiler, it happens early on and it's real, is that one of the marketing managers at Nissan, who was played by Orlando Bloom, goes to the heads of Nissan and is like, let me tell you about this incredible video game that is the most and it's you're watching a man, you're selling the audience Gran Turismo, and it's I know in the universe of this is what happened, but it's it feels icky.
It sounds weird. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Also, Orlando Bloom has not been in a thing for a while.
No.
Knowingly.
No,
where
knowingly.
Did he come from?
He's walked onto set sometimes and accidentally been in movies, but whoops. Oopsies.
When was the last thing he was in a thing? I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, I don't know. But apart from those moments where it does feel advertisement, the movie, I think being a Gran Turismo fan, when it does wank Gran Turismo, it kind of speaks to me and I'm okay with it. The movie opens with a 2-minute thing that feels lifted from when you boot up a Gran Turismo, where it's Gran Turismo was a series created by this, and it's behind the scenes shots. And I almost was crying because I'm sitting in a theater watching a thing about Gran Turismo. This is sick.
Yeah. It's why I'm always so okay with fan service in stuff that I watch where I'm like, everyone's like, oh, it's so fan servicey. I'm like, I know, right? How good was it?
Yeah. It was.
I love that crap.
Moments. But the story is really cool. Like, the performances are all awesome. They're very, like, real. Like, they're very, like, they're human, which is cool. Like, despite all the advertising stuff, David Harbour feels like a real dude. The actor in the lead role, who is fairly new, so I don't really know his name, but he feels like a dude that is just... What are we finding out about Orlando Bloom?
I just clicked on a thing. It looks like he's been in a lot of, like, crap movies.
Yeah.
There's one called The Shanghai Job, which I've never heard of. But when I clicked on it, it's got the poster for it, and the poster says, Smart Chase.
Ah.
Not The Shanghai Job.
That's where you know a movie's bad.
Yeah, it doesn't say The Shanghai Job anywhere on there.
Yeah, that's a home release hopeful change to the title. They're like, maybe this will work.
Yeah, freaking weird. It looks like he did a voice of Prince Harry for an animated series called The Prince.
Okay.
It was in something called Transmissions from the Future, where he played older Orlando.
Amazing.
So I guess himself.
Yep.
Yeah, he did a lot of random stuff, and then also did Pirates of the Caribbean back in 2017.
Yeah.
And then it's been a whole bunch of stuff that I've never heard of.
Yeah, wow. I will say...
then there was Carnival Row. I feel like I've heard of that as a TV series, Amazon TV series, but...
It's like Cara Delevingne or something.
Sure.
I will say, not a good actor. I hadn't named his name yet, because he's kind of the weakest part of it, and I don't think he's ever been a good actor. Like,
fair.
He in the roles he's been, like, that I've seen him in, Legolas is a very, like, over-the-top performance, and so it works for him. And as is Will Turner in the Pirates movies, he's a silly, like, swashbuckle man, and it's like,
that he's very fun, at least in the first one of those.
And
the early ones, he's very fun and silly with, alongside
with Johnny Depp. But yeah, awesome movie. Absolutely recommend it. I don't know if this is it's not a spoiler, but it's a behind the scenes fact, which is really cool. That all the driving for the character is done by the real guy. So he's doing his things again and driving circuits and stuff, which is really cool. Yeah,
nice. So they got him in.
Yeah, they got him to do all the stunt driving, which is sick.
That's so cool.
And I urge you to like look up some of the big crashes and incidents that happened in the movie, because when they happened in the film, I was like, that's over the top. And then I looked up the footage, and it's like, shit, like. Because the accidents are like cars just fucking going nuts, and I'm like, that's heightened. And you watch the footage, and it's like, wow,
yeah,
people got fucked up.
Some of those crashes are nuts. Yeah,
they look so physics breaking, but they're real. So yeah, definitely worth watching. Give it some money. Try and get a session. I think it plays like 2 times a day, because Barbie, Oppenheimer, and Mission Impossible take most of the screens. So
sure.
It'll be tricky to get. I briefly talked about Hijack last podcast. Finished that. It's very good. It's very, very good. I absolutely recommend it. It's a show that you'll only ever watch once. Because it's that tension building, what's going to happen next. Once you've watched it, it's like, it's out of your mind. But the ride and kind of the constant twists are very, very good. And it's cool. Worth watching. Apple TV.
Nice.
And then the only other thing I've watched is Twisted Metal. And it
nice.
is also really good. Like, sick. It's really good. It's bizarre. I think I put in the Discord that Gran Turismo and Twisted Metal, when they got announced from PlayStation Studios, we're all like, what the fuck? That's stupid. And
100%.
Like, I don't think Gran Turismo will be on my best of the year, but Twisted Metal might be up there with the TV series.
Cool.
It's so committed to what it is, which is so not what TV is at the moment. Like, they try and do like 60 different things, and this show is exactly what it is. It feels network TV. Like, it feels like Walking Dead in like 2012. Like, and that's kind of nice. Like, it's not over the top. I watched some of the episodes on my computer, and a lot of browser-based streaming things only really stream at 480p. Watch it in 480p. That's where it belongs. Some bits in like 4K on the telly.
That's so funny, especially coming from you.
Watching it in 4K on the telly, it's like, ooh, okay. That's not working for you, bud.
Interesting.
But a little bit compressed kind of blurs enough of it, and because it's made by Peacock, who is network television, so like the cameras aren't like the MCU looking things, and they're not. That doesn't feel very modern, but a little bit like lower res, like network television is supposed to be. It works. It looks great. It's dumb. Like, it is really dumb. Anthony Mackie, I still can't work out as a performer. He's really strange.
Yeah.
Like, I can't work out if he's good or not.
Is he good or not? Yeah, totally.
Like, because again, he commits so hard to the characters he does, but sometimes it feels like too much, but then the longer you're with that character, the more, like, endearing it is.
It makes sense for the character. Yeah, same as, like, We Have a Ghost.
Yeah.
Like that as well. Like, you kind of like, man, I don't know about this. And then the more time you spend, you're like, actually, maybe he's doing the character justice. I don't know.
He's a very strange performer. Like, there's a moment in the final episode that I want to share, because I'm like, this is why he is. It's not why he is the way he is, but because he is the way he is, this is really funny. Like, if he did it differently, it wouldn't be as funny. But it's good. And one of the coolest things about it is such a game show. Like, it is such a video game show. There's so many times where, the Mandalorian skirts around it when he goes on a quest and is like, I want this thing. They're like, you got to do this first. And it's like, okay. In this, like, he'll go up to a person, or like he'll get kidnapped or whatever, like these kind of shows do often. Gets kidnapped, and he's like, I've got to go, I've got to do this thing. The premise is he's got a delivery that he's got to make, because he's a milkman is his thing.
Amazing.
And he's like, I got to do the delivery. They're like, well, first you've got to do this. He's like, I don't want to do this. And they're like, well, if you do it, we'll get some armor for your car. And I'm like, that is such a weird fucking line read. What? And I'm like, oh yeah, no, this is a game about Demolition Derby. You're like, of course.
That's awesome. That's so funny.
And he's like, I need that missile to put on my car. And I'm like, that's so dumb, but that's the game.
Yeah.
And so there's like characters that pop up that I'm like, I'm sure that's a thing. And I watched like a deep dive on it, and it's like every single character that is a little bit interesting is a thing from the game. Like, it is just chock full of references, but in the way that, like, we like it in Marvel and stuff, it's here for those fans, but it's not in the way. It's not like, I don't know what's happening, but it's like, that's a thing. Yeah, cool.
It's got to be.
Yeah, like that has to be a reference, and they usually are. And then
it's like when we were watching Resident Evil, the TV show.
Yeah.
We were like, that character's probably something.
Constantly on the phone.
Everyone.
I held off until the end because I wanted to be on the ride, but there's one. And the coolest thing is, and also biggest thing, Sweet Tooth, the clown, which is kind of the one visual imagery that gamers, no matter who you are, probably know about Twisted Metal, is a big dude, a bodybuilder kind of thing, but with the voice of Will Arnett. And when I heard that, I was like, that's going to be fucking distracting. Like, that's going to be hard.
So it's actually Will Arnett's voice.
Yeah.
Weird.
So Will Arnett does the voice of the clown, of Sweet Tooth. And it is better than The Mandalorian, like, in terms of the disconnect. Cool. Like, it is... I fully believed within minutes that was one guy. And it is shocking. Like, it is... And it's like, I don't know how, because... with someone like, and I mean, you don't see his mouth, so it's similar to the Mandalorian, but it's like with the Mandalorian, he's so stilted in his movement that you could add lines in and it would probably fit. Whereas Sweet Tooth is such a like expressive character that it has to be the same script. Like, it can't be different moments and stuff, and it just works. And the comedy is so good. Like,
that's cool.
It's it was shocking. And the episodes are about 30 minutes each, it's 10 eps. So it's not a hard watch as well. So. Yeah, very, very good. Well worth a recommend.
Is it on Amazon?
Stan.
It's Peacock Amazon? Stan.
Unknowingly. The one that no one has.
Yeah. I think I might have it.
Yeah.
I think collectively, over like friends and other people, they've managed to get all logins to nearly everything.
Yeah.
So I think I got Stan. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, good. 100% worth the watch. So.
Yeah, sick.
Watches.
Another movie that is 100% worth the watch. We've already mentioned it. Ready or Not.
Yeah.
So fun.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I knew it would be, but it just took me a while to get to it. Max suggested it. She'd been wanting to watch it. Like, she's been suggesting it all week.
Yep.
She's like, next time we have some time, we got to sit down and watch Ready or Not. So we finally got to it. Oh, it's so fun. It's so good. So basically, for anyone that doesn't know the synopsis or what this is, it's about a girl who's marrying into kind of a board game dynasty family. They're very, very rich, and love their board games. And at midnight of the wedding night, part of their tradition is you go and you pick a card, and it tells you what game you play with the family.
Yep.
And there is one card that is ready or not, and that means this is all in the trailer. That means you go hide and they try and kill you.
Yep.
Essentially, for a weird ritualistic sacrifice. You'll find out more when you watch it.
Yeah.
But it's very strange. It's a crazy, intense, interesting setup for the plot of a film.
Yeah.
With Samara Weaving, she's freaking great. She's in pretty much only ever horror movies. Except for Babylon, I guess.
Yeah. Yep.
But
you've not seen it, so it might be a horror movie.
That's true. Who knows?
No one else has seen it. Only I have.
It's true. Only you and Stephen King in the same theater.
Best buds.
She basically, ever since Will and I discovered Samara Weaving, she's pretty much just been a mix between Margot Robbie and Emma Stone.
Yeah.
She's just both of them just jammed into a single human being. It's crazy. She's also Australian, so there's a lot of the Margot Robbie part of it. But, oh man, she's great. The cast of this is great as well. There was a lot of I know him from somewhere. I know her from somewhere.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of that. You instantly, any characters that you're meant to hate, you do.
Yeah.
Straight away, the freaking aunt.
Yeah.
The aunt is just, as soon as you see her, you're like, I hate her so much. And she is an awful person.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a bunch of moments like that. Man. It's just a great freaking movie. Just go watch it. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Disney.
Oh yeah, Disney.
Disney.
Yeah.
Disney Plus. Yeah.
It's another one that just fully commits to the bit, and it's just all right, just hold on.
Totally. Go for the ride, and it's a heck of a lot of fun. The other things I've been watching have mostly been watching / listening to. YouTube or podcast related things. So I was talking to you about this before the podcast started, but I've been watching a lot of Video Game Donkey. Freaking hilarious. Go watch any or all of Donkey's stuff. He's been making videos, at least YouTube videos, for nearly 10 years now. So there's plenty to watch. But having also watched his 2 interviews on the H3 podcast also this week. With his wife Leah, fiance at one point, and then I think wife in the second podcast. He started on Newgrounds.
Oh wow!
In the very early days, he saw people making really cool things. And that's where he started making videos and making really dumb jokes and songs and editing animations and things like that. So that's where he got a lot of that, where his start was, which is cool because in the second one, they pull up some of his Newgrounds videos. Oh, cool. They found them, I think. When you watch the podcast, he barely talks.
Yeah, wow.
He's it's so weird because he's so quiet and he mumbles through everything. You can barely understand most of what he says. And his wife jumps in and helps, fills out everything that he's asked.
Yeah.
So Ethan from the H3 podcast asks him questions and he's just yeah, I guess.
Oh, no.
It's the worst interviewee.
Yeah.
The worst person to try and interview.
Yeah.
And then his wife jumps in and it's well, you did that thing where you do, you did this thing and expands on it. And then he manages to expand on it a little bit and talk about his process or whatever. But it's just constantly like that. It's so funny. But yeah, he's so animated in his videos. But obviously I can imagine he just sits in his room and just does it by himself.
Yeah.
With basically no one around.
Okay. The difference between Will and these and real life is startling.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And then, you in front of other people, on their thing.
Yeah.
You're so much more reserved.
Different. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So, it's 100% that. So it's been fun. I listened to one episode of Pocket Buds.
Nice.
The Back Pocket podcast, hosted by Ruby Innes.
Yep.
And it's the one, of course, with my boys from Thumb Cramps.
Yep.
Jackson Bailey and the other one. Crap. Forget his name. Yeah. But yeah, they're very close friends because she's always on the podcast. Every 2 or 3 episodes, she's on the podcast on Thumb Cramps.
Yep.
And she's talked about Back Pocket a bunch. She talked about this podcast well before its actual inception.
Yeah,
and there was discussion on the well, maybe not the inception, but the release of the actual thing.
Yeah.
She talked about it coming out, which I'm sure had a mention on the show as well before she was mentioning it on Thumb Cramps. And there was discussion of those guys being on it probably fairly frequently.
Yeah.
So can you imagine that's going to happen?
Well, you got Levins on it as well, so you can... nice.
Too. Yeah, is that like the latest one? 3rd episode?
I think so. I think that's what came out this week. Yeah. Well, last week.
Very cool. Yeah, nice.
For listeners. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So I'll be jumping on that. For sure, but yeah, listen to that. It's very good.
Very cool.
I liked the episode with the Thumb Cramps boys. It's the only one I've listened to, but the fact that it's not just it's a focused topic, and that's all it is. Like the one that I listened to was Whatever Happened to Bob's Game.
Yes. Yeah.
I'd never heard anything of Bob's Game. I didn't know what this was, but it's like it's almost like a video essay.
Yep.
Like proper journalism research has gone into it and discussing the different points of this kind of historical event in indie video game history that I'd never heard about before. But there's so much like information in there that Ruby has gone into. And, the discussion around it was super interesting. So it's not just, what video games have you been playing and making jokes? It's proper, like almost like a historical event, discussed. And I love that. It's very, very cool. So keen to listen to more of that podcast, especially from an actual journalist.
Yes.
So many of the podcasts that I listen to are not. They're just guys. It's just
2
us.
dudes.
It's a couple of guys talking about video games, but from an actual qualified journalist point of view, making a podcast.
It's cool.
Very interesting way to do it. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's the way to do it. That's all I've been watching as well.
Yeah, nice.
Have you been playing anything?
I have finished...
Yes.
2, 3, 4, 5 video games.
In 2 weeks?
Yes.
Holy crap, dude.
But it was mostly driven by... Because you were like, oh, these indie games I'm going to play. I'm like, I've started so many games this year. I'm going to finish all of those games. And so I did. I mean, the first one that I want to talk most about is Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah,
finished that.
Nice.
So good. Would have been my game of the year in 2020 when that came out, but it also wouldn't have been because it didn't work.
Yeah, if it was where it is at now.
Yeah, which
amazing.
I will also say, like, don't play it now. Play it once the DLC is out, because the DLC is bringing with it basically an entire overhaul of the entire game. So mechanics are completely different, models are different, gameplay functions are completely changed. So if you want to play the game, firstly, you should, but secondly, wait till the DLC comes out, because the DLC is also set within the campaign. So it's adding an extra area and more story rather than something after the fact. So it's like... Yeah.
I really hope it works for them. I really hope it brings it back.
Yeah.
Because there's such good game developers. Like, obviously, The Witcher, one of the biggest, greatest video games of all time.
Yeah.
I really hope that this DLC brings people back to it, and that it redeems them.
Totally. Because the game that's there now is awesome. Like, there's very few bugs. Like, I don't think it's a great game. Like, the shooting is
interesting.
Is nothing. Like, it is just nothing. Like, there's the Adam Smasher, which is like this big robot dude that's teased very early on, and you fight him near the end of the game. And the whole game, I'm like, oh god, this is gonna suck. And I was just like standing behind cover, just firing at him until he died. And that's most of the game, unless you're talking to people. the vehicle, like driving, you kind of have to pick up a controller because it just feels horrible, mouse and keyboard.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Because it's very slidey. It's very like a Halo. Kind of the way the camera moves with it all is very funky. But works. So, like the game isn't great, but the story and the characters and the world is so good, which is
sick.
It's their bread and butter.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's probably the same for The Witcher. I never hear anyone say, "Oh, I love using magic spells in The Witcher."
The mechanics of like the gameplay of The Witcher is so clunky, especially going back to it now.
Yeah.
I'm still angry about double click left stick is to call the horse.
Weird. Yeah.
And single click left stick does nothing.
Yeah. No.
Insane.
Yeah. So I don't think it's probably, and I remember people saying when it launched buggy, people were like, so did The Witcher 3, but you all just got over that. Like, apparently The Witcher 3 launched broken, but the game became so good that everyone just remembers that.
Okay.
So it seems to just be the CD Projekt Red cycle. But yeah, I adored it. I think one of my favorite things about it, which I won't spoil where it kind of all goes, but in terms of the romance options in the game, they're actually locked to sexual preferences, and so it's not like not everyone's not bi, and not everyone's not interested in your character. So there were times where I was like, oh, I love this character, like this is the one, and then you have that moment and they're just like, no, sorry, and I was like, no, fuck. and it's like, it's from a game, but from a gamer perspective, it's like, no, you're stopping me from, like, this is an open narrative, let me do the thing, which like a Mass Effect, it's like, fuck anyone, that's fine. But it's quite cool that it's very real, and so you as the player, as the one in the narrative, is like, oh man, that sucks, but also like that's what you prefer, and that's on you, and now as
you get properly rejected.
Yeah, which is sick. It's so
I don't know
cool.
if I want that in a video game.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I like how much weight you actually feel in the narrative, and like there was a few choices where, as these like multi-thread kind of things are, it's like I clicked on, I'm like, this will be the one, and then they're like, fuck you, I'm like, that's not what that said, please stop, how dare you.
I hate it when that happens. I hate it.
So I had stakes. There's also like a surprising amount of versatility to it. Like there's a character that died for me, and I watched a thing, and it's like choices that you can make in Cyberpunk, and they're like, you could have just gone back and he'd be fine, because it's like a moment happens where it's like a shootout and stuff, and Johnny Silverhand, Keanu Reeves, is like, you gotta go, man, he's gone. And so I was just like, well, I get, like, it looked like he was, like, that definitely looked like everyone just died, and so you just run through, and the thing's like, if you just get up and then go back, he's there, but if you don't, he's dead now.
Yeah, right.
And that character has like stakes throughout the rest of the narrative, but just because the game picks you up and points you in that direction, you're like, well, I'll go. And that character just said that thing. And like, there's a lot of moments like that in the game where if you just deny it and be like, no, I'm going to do this thing, then you'll change characters and stuff like that. And it's very cool.
Yeah, I'm hearing a similar thing from Baldur's Gate 3 that just came out.
Yeah,
like,
right.
That, like, you know, people are trying to break that game by having characters die that they think are important and stuff, and it just adapts.
Cool.
Like, it adapts to everything. They're like, it's. I've heard people say it's like having an actual D&D campaign.
Yep. Yeah, cool.
The DM just has to deal with it
constantly
and figure it out, and somehow they've made a system unlike any other that actually figures it all out. And I'm like, oh man, it's made me, I've heard nothing but good things from the couple of podcasts that I've listened to.
Yeah.
Where people are like, this is my game of the year. And these are people that loved and played Zelda.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Like, oh, no.
You gotta drop Diablo.
Yeah.
That's gonna be your one. That's so true. I forgot how many big like sequels have come out. Diablo, Baldur's Gate, and Zelda are huge.
Yeah.
That's actually
Spider-Man's coming. Like, it's this year for games has been nuts.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good games this year.
And I feel like at points where like nothing's happening, but it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's actually ridiculous,
it's
right?
Concept.
Crazy.
I'll just quickly go through the other ones. I sat down and finished. Which one will I go first? Lego 2K Drive.
Nice.
Just did the rest of the races. There's more events and stuff to do in the world, as is with Forza kind of games, which I may do, I may not. Doing those things will unlock extra pieces that I can use to build things, which I kind of want. But we'll see. I've seen credits, which is, that's our way.
It's always hard to go back after that. Yeah. I saw credits for Zelda and I'm like, done. I've got all these missions that I want to do, but I'm like, nah, probably not.
Nah, it's such an easy out.
Yeah.
I finished that. I finished the other night. I finished Hi-Fi Rush. I had about 2 hours left of that, and there was like, as I booted up, I was like, oh god, this game is so button. I remember the buttons being in weird places, and it's rhythm based. Like, there's so much for me to relearn, and I don't know. It's almost like when you come back to a game that you left as a child, and you're like, it's too hard, I'm not going to play it, and then you come back to it as an adult, and you're like, the fuck, man, like, this is easy, and it was, I think it has lifted my thoughts of the whole game. Just this like contained 2-hour session, which was like 2 bosses, very few waves of enemies, which I think helped, because that was one of the worst parts of that game, is just going like, you move 4 steps and then just enemy, move a couple of, and it was just like, oh, this is boring, man. Whereas this was the third act, where it was very much like, fight the big thing, couple enemies, fight the big thing, over, and I was hitting it and I was getting the rhythm of it, and it just felt better.
Nice. So, I keep seeing it on my Xbox taskbar as one of the last games that I played. I'm like, I should go back and finish it. Like, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Kind of, but I'm like, I'll go back.
Maybe it'll be the same thing. A nice little contained session. That was good. Seasons of Letter to the Future, I fell off it. And I ended up finishing it, and it's okay. It's very, like, there's so much of that indie art house wank to it, and it never delivers. It
Not
edges
quite the
you
lake you were
all the
hoping
way.
for?
No, it was a weak wank, and it just like ends, and I'm like, because the whole conceit is like, the seasons are like periods of time, and it's the end of a season. There's a new season coming for the world, and I'm like, what is that? It never really delivers on that thing. I was like, oh, is this like, because it's kind of set in an old-timey kind of world, I'm like, oh, is this like a thing for like World War II is about to happen and the world's about to change? And it's not that, because people have like normal cars and caravans and mobile phones and stuff, so I'm like, I don't know what's happening here. And I looked up some reviews online, and it is hitting like 4 out of 10s and stuff, and it's not doing well. Mechanically, it's so cool, but it actually it is in like a nicer package, but it is as broken as Lake as well, or is like not finished as Lake, where the whole thing is like creating a scrapbook and you're taking photos and audio recordings and stuff, and it's so cool. Like, I put so much time into my scrapbook, and at the end of it, it kind of goes past a couple of pages, and then it's credits, and there's no way to look at that scrapbook again, because the save file is just credits, and it doesn't put you back into the game. It's not open one. And I'm like,
annoying.
I'm never going to see all that thing I did. There's no like look at scrapbook function. There's just little bits like that, which I'm like, that hurts.
Dang, that's frustrating.
But that's I have 5 games now, so maybe it will be in my my thing of the year, but hopefully not. It might be the one that misses. One that will be is Viewfinder, which I sat down and finished in like 2.5 hours.
Yes,
so good.
Yeah, it's a quick one. It's so good, right? Never overstays its welcome.
No, but I wanted harder. Like,
sure, yeah.
It was never hard, and it was like, I think I tweeted, and I was nice because I tagged the developers. When I don't tag the developers in my game finish thing, it's because I want to shit on it.
Yeah.
And, like, I like that it never made me feel dumb, but I wanted at least like a couple of those every now and then. But it was just constant like, oh yeah, like you're very clever. The game is very clever in like what it's done mechanically, but it was never challenging. And for like $36, I was kind of like, I wanted a bit of challenge in there.
Yeah, totally. But it is an expensive buy for what it is. But it's also very good, so it's like, I don't.
It's hard. It is someone's passion as well. It's been their passion for like 10 years. Watching it on Twitter.
It's been
Yeah.
It's great. I think what Ben and I said was like, you know, if people are unsure, if like, you know, someone else that's played it is trying to get someone else to play it and they're not selling it, just sit them down and give them the game. Let them play your copy of it.
Totally, yeah.
Just for the experience, whether or not that makes them go play it, like buy it and play it for themselves, or if they just sit down and play the entire game at your house. Like just for the experience of this freaking beautiful game and how amazing some of the puzzles and stuff are.
Totally.
Like just sit them down and let them play it and experience it. It's so good.
It's super impressive. Yeah, and it's crazy. Even in the 11th hour of it, it's like there's still surprises to the mechanics. It's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just keep adding like a little bit more to it. It's really clever. Yeah. The one thing that we were like, is the story. The story's very ham-fisted in there. It's a bit weird. It's like a weird sort of climate crisis storyline.
Yeah, but it's like it's super vague and arty until they're just like, the world's over and the climate did it. It's like, oh, okay, shit. Okay, cool.
Yeah, basically.
I'm playing a puzzle game, man. Like, leave me the fuck alone.
yeah. It's definitely the weakest part, but just beautiful game.
Turn the voice off.
Yeah, you don't need it. Just don't bother listening to the gramophones. It's fine.
I was clicking all of them for so long, and then I'm like,
oh,
this is a bit shit. I'm done.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's all the games. I don't know. Because I've got a list now, which we love our lists of games that are out and that are coming out, and they're all like ordered by hours and how long they're going to be. And I've got Blanc, which we need to play at some point, which is only 2 hours. So if we get a stream at some point, that's a new game for us to put on our thing. I've got Pizza Tower, which is the
I've been wanting to play that too. Yeah.
Only 6 hours. Mr. Sun's Hatbox. I can't remember I think it was just a retro platformer that looked pretty fun.
Sure. Yeah. Cool.
Planet of Lana I've wanted to play forever. And then
that is on my list that I'm about to talk about today.
Good. Sick. Yeah, right, I'm clean to hear. Sea of Stars is a trailer that I saw pop up. It's a PlayStation game. It just looks like a sweet indie kind of thing. And then I'll play Mortal Kombat 1. I'll play Cyberpunk 2027 DLC. Mirage, Spidey, Jumanji Wild Adventures. 2 mentions in one podcast.
Yes!
And WarioWare Move It. And then that is enough games for me to have a list. So I'm happy.
Nice. You're going to get there.
I should add Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. I forgot. Oops, I should.
Of course. Yeah, chuck that in there. Yeah.
I forgot about that. But it's quite nice, the list, because it's 2 per month. And I'm like, I can deal with that.
Nice.
That's nice.
That is pretty good.
But that's all the games I'm going to talk about, because I don't make a podcast about it.
I'm holding one back from the actual podcast.
Yep.
Although maybe I should mention, I'll tell you about it after the podcast.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll share my screen and show you some stuff.
Yeah, please.
But Planet of Lana. I finished it last night. That's why I stayed up so late last night, and this podcast recording started later. So I've been playing it most of this week, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's delightful. It's so good. It's such a beautiful game. The puzzles, similar probably to Viewfinder, don't get too hard. There was one point where I had to look up something. But similarly to Viewfinder, I used the hint once because it took me a little while to find one thing. But the game is it's stunning. The puzzles are quite fun.
Cool.
It's a very short game, so probably by the end of it, some of the puzzles felt like I'm like, like I feel like I've done this puzzle before already, but now I'm just doing it and it's a little longer.
Yeah.
But it does this sort of thing where it does add like a couple of extra mechanics as the game goes on. Gives you sort of like different abilities or things like that to solve new puzzles, which is really cool. But the backgrounds, like every now and again, I just found myself just stopping and just looking at the landscape. And it kind of forces you to sometimes, because you get to a point where there's just a long stretch and the camera just pulls away to show more and more of the landscape, and your character's just tiny running along.
Yeah.
and it forces you to like stop and look. It's really cool.
Sick.
But yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff in the background to look at as well. Your character will look at that stuff too if there's a particular thing happening or an interesting landmark or statue.
Yep.
Your character's head just turns as you run past it until it
That's sweet.
Until it's unnecessary for it to be looking anymore and it'll pull back.
Yep.
Very cool things like that. There's a very beautiful emphasis on music every now and again as well, where the music in the game kind of complements the ambience and the music of the soundtrack. But it's like in-game situations where there is music playing, or like, the robots constantly like play a little melody, like the aliens and stuff. And it kind of fits in with the game and things like that. It's a cool little thing with some cool puzzles to do with music and stuff like that too. So yes, definitely jump on it. It's on Game Pass. It's free. It's like
good.
With 3 or 4 hours, like definitely, highly recommend. But yeah, that's it. And I'm gonna talk to Ben about the other one later, and I will show you after this podcast. Because I literally jumped into this game that I've played before on a stream, but there's a DLC for it.
Sick, interesting.
Very good.
That's a tease for the podcast, everybody.
Ooh, yeah, go listen to it.
Yeah, check out the pod. That is almost everything. But before we go, we've of course got the ToeVee guide, which I refuse to give the Rex Egg anything more, but I gave the ToeVee guide a little bit more.
Live on your television in 30 seconds.
Welcome to the ToeVee guide.
That's cool. I like it. I like it.
There's a little transition.
Like there's like just enough of music. Yeah. we will never get copyrighted.
Nah. A little bit of Travis Slattery in there as well.
Love it. Is that who that was?
Live on your television, and that's before he kills a man.
Yeah, that's great. Very nice.
Welcome to ToeVee Guide. We'll kick things off with Monday the 14th. Solar Opposites is back on Hulu. It'll be on D+ soon. This is the season with Dan Stevens, obviously replacing the man that is no longer important in our lives.
Yes.
And I'm keen to see it. I haven't watched any of the other seasons. I might just start with this one and see how it goes.
Just start in season 2 or 3 or whatever it's up to.
I think it's 3. Yeah. It's deep into it, but I mean, you can do that with the other show, so maybe you can do it with this one.
They're pretty. I assume because Rick and Morty is quite an easy watch for the most part.
Yeah.
This one I'm sure is easier because it's less
science,
like reality bending.
Where
you have to kind of think a little bit at least, but
it's a little bit more just sitcom-y.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Keen? Cool. Tuesday last week, but this is episode 3 because they released 2 at the same time. Only Murder season 3 is back on Disney Plus every Tuesday. I will have to wait until my mum is home because I'm not gonna double dip on that thing.
But I might have to wait because Maxine's watched season 1 and might just wait until we're able to watch season 2. Maybe we'll watch it on the plane on the way to Japan, and then season 3 on the way back or something.
Yep. I'm keen. Yeah. I'm keen to see Paul Rudd's involvement and Meryl Streep's involvement.
Yes.
It will be very interesting. Not that Babylon, but a different Babylon. Babylon 5, The Road Home, comes out, which is a straight-to-video animated sequel from the original creators of Babylon 5. There's some sci-fi nerds in the chat. Yeah. I'm sure you guys are excited about this.
Nice.
Also on Tuesday, but we may be able to get clarification on this.
Tuesday's huge.
A little game called Moving Out 2 launches on pretty much everything.
Probably.
I hope so. Moving Out 2 on PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series XS, Switch, and PC.
Yes.
Very
cool. I had a hand in pretty much all of those.
There you go.
I think I probably did some stuff on PC as well, actually.
If they don't run, you know who to call.
That's right. Yeah, it's my fault.
Yeah. Bet those menus look great, though.
Hell yeah.
Thursday the 17th, Strays hits cinema, which is the Jamie Foxx, Will Ferrell talking his dogs.
That looks so good. I'm so excited for that. It was so dumb.
Yeah, that alongside Jennifer Lawrence's No Hard Feelings feels like we're getting back into like good dumb comedies, which we've been missing for so long.
Yeah, good stuff.
Came for that. And also on Thursday, Vampire Survivors comes to Switch, which is another good place for that game.
Crazy that it's taken this long.
Yeah.
It's the perfect Switch game because it's
Totally.
From what I've heard, it's a pretty damn good mobile game. So
yeah.
Weird that it took so long to get there. Nice.
That hits on Thursday. On Friday, Lego Disney Princess: The Castle Quest hits Disney Plus, which is
Finally.
a Lego. I'm keen because this is obviously similar to the Lego Star Wars ones, but this one is all the princesses, like the Wreck-It Ralph 2 scene. It's Merida's and all the rest of them. Merida's the only one that matters. That hit on Disney Plus on Friday. We also got Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which is the kind of Jet Set Radio grind 'em up game.
Oh, holy crap! Yeah. That's out this week?
Yeah.
Yes, I love Jet Set Radio, man.
Yeah.
So
Friday.
good. Sick.
It looks very fun. Looks very one note, but in the best way. And that's on PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. You can probably play it on modern consoles as well. They just can't be bothered to tell you.
Weird. Okay.
Which is a weird choice. But that is everything that's coming out on the ToeVee guide. There's not a seamless way to come out of this one. I just have to press fade. I'll work that out another way. That's everything. Stuff from us. You guys, you streaming on Monday?
Yes. Yeah, we will be, for sure.
So you might have already seen that.
That's right. That was yesterday.
Streaming the following Monday? Is that planned?
I'm pretty sure we're like... I think unless one of us drops out, we're going to stream every week. We're trying to get through the storyline of Diablo before I get married.
Yeah, good.
So we're pretty sure we'll make it through. I think we might be up to Act 5 of 6 now. But we also discussed the idea of potentially streaming on Tuesdays as well, leading up to it if we feel like we're falling behind or if we drop out or whatever, to take up Ben's slot. But Ben will still be streaming on theirs because we do the co-streams.
I'm so glad that Ben is allowing you to use their slot.
Yeah, absolutely.
I said what I said.
Like, it's very kind that I get to use Ben's slot.
At least once every now and then. Thank you,
Thank you,
very
Ben,
close.
for allowing me to use your slot.
Thanks,
Very
Ben.
kind.
That Figures might be back this week. We're just waiting. There hasn't been much stuff. It happens a lot with like toy fairs and stuff in San Diego. They put all their news out and don't do much for a while. So we'll let you know on the Discord if it's back, and if it's not, oh well. But until the next one, I have been Will.
And I have been Josh.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
No funny outro this time.
No.
Just thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.